Microplastics, they're showing up in our bloodstream, lungs, even in our reproductive organs and the placenta. We now know that microplastics can be eaten, inhaled, and even absorbed through the skin. Even worse, microplastics often carry toxic hitchhikers like heavy metals and endocrine disrupting chemicals, things like bisphenol A, PCBs, and phthalates. So what do microplastics do inside the body? This is where the story takes a turn from gross to concerning. Welcome back to Treated, where we decode the science of whole body health and longevity for everyone who wants to feel sharper, live longer, and cut through the noise of modern wellness. I'm Dr. Sara Szal. Let's kick off with a recent headline that's gotten a lot of people rethinking their glass bottles of water. A French study tested dozens of popular beverages, bottled water, soda, juice, even beer and wine, and found microplastics in every single one of them. The real twist was that the most contamination came from drinks in glass bottles, not plastic. As reported by the Wall Street Journal, researchers believe the culprits are the plastic-lined metal caps of these glass bottles, which can shed microplastic particles right into the liquid during shipping and handling. As CTV News put it, drinks, including water, soda, beer, and wine, sold in glass bottles contain more microplastics than those in plastic bottles. Scientists believe that the culprit isn't the glass, it's those metal caps. The closures, shaken and twisted in transit, shed microplastic flakes into your favorite drink. That means even your organic cold-pressed juice might harbor invisible plastic particulates. If that surprises you, you're not alone. But here's the deeper issue. These microplastics aren't just passing through. They're showing up in our bloodstream, lungs, gastrointestinal tracts, and yes, even in our reproductive organs and the placenta. The question is, what are they doing to our bodies? And what can we do about it? That's the question that we're going to tackle today. So first, I want to talk about bioaccumulation without borders. In recent years, microplastics have moved from an environmental concern to a potential human health crisis. Microplastics are plastic particles that are smaller than 5 millimeters. I've been tracking them for about 20 plus years in terms of the health hazards. Microplastics are in our food, water, air, even in our breast milk and infant formula. Yes, the French study confirmed that. We now know that microplastics can be eaten, inhaled, and even absorbed through the skin. From there, they've been detected in pretty much every organ system. Your lungs, the placenta, reproductive organs, the gut. So what do microplastics do inside the body? This is where the story takes a turn from gross to concerning. Animal and lab studies show that microplastics cause oxidative stress. That's cellular wear and tear that drives inflammation, DNA damage, and also aging. They disrupt the immune system and they can interfere with hormone signaling. Even worse, microplastics are kind of like tiny Trojan horses. They often carry toxic hitchhikers like heavy metals and endocrine disrupting chemicals, things like bisphenol A, PCBs, and phthalates. I've written quite a bit about bisphenol A and also phthalates. Here's a couple of comments about bisphenol A's. There are multiple endocrine disruptors. They disrupt estrogen, which you probably have heard of, but they also disrupt your thyroid and they can disrupt your androgen signaling. The place where you're mostly exposed to them is, again, plastic containers. So we're not just talking about plastic particles, we're actually talking about chemically active disruptors that can be linked to cancer, fertility issues, and immune dysregulation. But here's the catch. Direct evidence in humans is still limited. Most of what we know comes from animal models. We lack good tools to detect microplastics consistently in human tissues. There's no standard commercially available test yet. So who's most at risk? It's not just sea turtles and factory workers. It's 4 different groups that are the most vulnerable. So, first is women, especially those who are pregnant or planning to be, because we see that microplastics are found in the placenta, amniotic fluid, and even the first poop that a baby makes, known as meconium. One study linked higher microplastic loads in the placenta to a greater risk of preterm birth, low birth weight, and poor APGAR scores. There's the scores you get when a baby is first born at 1 minute and 5 minutes. Other data, mostly in animals, show abnormal hormone levels, impaired placental function, and poor fetal development. The second group is infants and children, who are exposed more per pound of body weight than adults. Why? Because they crawl on the floor, they put everything in their mouths, and they breathe faster. Additionally, formula that's prepared in plastic bottles can release millions of microplastic particles per day. The third group is those with occupational exposures. So, this includes people in manufacturing, waste management, or who live near plastic heavy industries. They may inhale more airborne microplastics and show signs of chronic airway inflammation or reduced lung function. And the fourth group is those of us who eat a lot of seafood, bottled water, or takeout in plastic containers. We are most likely ingesting more microplastics than we realize. So, what are some of the signs and symptoms? What happens when microplastics build up? We suspect that microplastics contribute to a few different things. Number one, gut issues like inflammation, abdominal pain, altered bowel habits. Number two, reproductive problems like low sperm quality and hormone imbalances. Number three, breathing problems, including chronic cough, shortness of breath, and even inflammation in the lungs. Some people also report nonspecific symptoms like brain fog, fatigue, dizziness. And if you already have conditions like asthma or inflammatory bowel disease, microplastics can actually make issues worse. But this is critical. We don't yet have conclusive, large scale human studies to draw a straight line between exposure and disease. We need more research, and we need it now. So, what can you do, at least for now? While we wait for the science to catch up, we don't need to stay powerless. Here are a few actions that you can take today. Number one, filter your water. The best is reverse osmosis. So if you can afford that system, implement it. But even a quality activated carbon filter can help. Number two, reduce the plastic in your kitchen. Store food in glass. Don't microwave in plastic. Avoid single use plastic containers and packaging. Number three, ventilate your home. Indoor air can contain a surprising load of airborne microplastics. Open your windows, vacuum with a HEPA filter, and skip synthetic air fresheners. So, what are the health hazards? What do we know and what do we not know? So, if we zoom out for a moment and we look at this through precision medicine lens, we want to know what's the actual evidence. Mechanistically, clinically, epidemiologically, the microplastics are harming our health. So here's what we do know. Microplastics have been consistently detected in human blood, lungs, stool, placenta, and breast milk. We know from animal and in vitro studies that they can induce oxidative stress, immune dysregulation, mitochondrial dysfunction, and DNA strand breaks. These are well characterized mechanisms that underlie chronic diseases, from cardiovascular conditions to cancer. In some animal models, microplastics can impair gut barrier integrity, increase pro inflammatory cytokines, and disrupt hormone pathways. We've also seen damage to the testes, decreased sperm counts, and altered estrogen and progesterone levels, particularly in rodents. We know that microplastics can act as a vector for environmental toxicants like bisphenol A, phthalates, and persistent organic pollutants known as POPs, all of which are well documented endocrine disruptors. But let's be honest about the gaps. Here's what we don't know yet. We don't have large, well-controlled human epidemiologic studies linking microplastic exposure to disease outcomes. We don't yet have a clear dose-response curve. How much exposure leads to what kind of risk and over what type of timeline? We don't totally understand particle size, shape, or polymer type in terms of toxicity. Nanoplastics may behave entirely differently than larger fragments of plastic. We don't yet know the cumulative impact of chronic low-dose exposure over decades. And we have no standardized detection methods for measuring microplastics in blood, urine, or tissues. So reproducibility in comparison across studies is limited. While we're seeing strong biological plausibility backed by mechanistic and early observational data, we're still in the early state of understanding the full clinical implications in humans. If you're the kind of person who likes to wait for absolute proof before acting, I respect that. But if you're the type of person who's more like me, who adjusts course based on mechanistic plausibility and emerging data, especially when it's low risk to intervene, then reducing your exposure to microplastics may be a good move. Microplastics may be small, but their impact is big and growing. From the womb to the workplace, these particles are a 21st century health issue that we can't afford to ignore. Until then, may you be well, may your water be clean, and may your placenta be plastic free.